Hello, Grüß and hello, Europe. Germany has staged Unser Song 2017 and Levina has beat Levina. Let's talk about it. You guys, the script kind of went to plan. There were several rounds that dragged on, and in the end we were supposed to see two singers singing either the same song or a different song, but instead it was Levina versus Levina, and Levina won. First, let's talk about the actual song she will sing at Eurovision, Perfect Life. Chris.
Or Titanium by David Guetta and Sia, as it does start. Yeah, it's just so blatant. The first time I heard it, I had to stop the song and try and rack my brain. Which song is this a complete copy of? I actually preferred Wildfire, but in terms of Perfect Life, she's a very good singer, but it's just sort of lacking a little bit of power behind it. I think the end just kind of, it runs on and on and on, and there's no break, there's no real bridge to the song from what I could tell. It feels like if they did a revamp towards the end of the song, maybe lifted it up, maybe added a key change. I don't know what it is that I want from it, but it's just lacking at the moment. And it's very middle of the road. And it's kind of exactly the same problem Germany have had for the past 2 years, where I'm not excited by it. And it's a shame. But from this kind of convoluted mess of a national final, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I felt like the German national final felt like the Lithuanian final crammed into a 3-hour show instead of 10 weeks. It was very complicated, and I sort of feel that we didn't necessarily see the best performances from all the artists because they started with the cover versions, which, I mean, yeah, it gives you an idea of what their vocal ability and their talent is, but that's not the song they're going to be singing at Eurovision.
I was sort of passively watching the first round because I was cooking dinner, and I honestly thought they were all singing the same song. People were not bringing any point of difference. I would look, it'd be a woman in some sparkly black outfit singing a song. I'd look again, it was the same thing. In any event, in the final, when it was Wildfire versus Perfect Life, I was all about Wildfire. She lit the wildfire. It sounded hokey and cheesy, but it was more original. Perfect Life? Honestly, you said middle of the road. I just want to take white paint and paint it down the stage, recreate that road. She's going to get hit by a car and could finish last. And I hate to say that because I think the right artist won. I wanted her to win. Going into round 3, I was like, it has to be her because she killed it with Wildfire. And then Germany chooses Perfect Life, perfect way to have a three-peat of last place. This reminds me of Anne-Sophie and Jamie Lee in that it's forgettable. Like, the only thing I remember is how forgettable it is and the fact that it riffs off Titanium. Honestly, that opening riff that you point out, Chris, it's the same. It's like they downloaded this online from that, freeriff.com or whatever. I'm actually kind of shocked because Germany made a big effort this year. We want to see Germany do well. I mean, they had Conchita and Ruslana. Maybe they should have saved the airfare and purchased a new song. But let's do the comparison now between Levina and Axel, who was eliminated in round 3. Chris.
Talk about somebody with absolutely no stage presence. Axel, I mean, they made the point about the stool where he was just sat on it during Wildfire, I think it was. Literally so many of these performances blur into one. Levina was obviously, I think, the better choice throughout the entire show. She killed it in every single round, but even by the end, I'd heard her sing 5 or 6 times. I was getting bored of her. Thankfully, it won't be like that at Eurovision. But yeah, I think every single round, she outperformed everybody else. So I'm not surprised it came down to Levina versus Levina in the end. I did prefer Axel's studio version of Perfect Life, but again, there were just he just didn't convey anything. It was like he was bored, and it was an inconvenience that he was there. That's how I felt when I was watching him. Yeah.
Yeah, going into the competition, Axel was my favourite, and I can see why he won. There was the international viewers poll that they were updating the audience with, and he was coming top with that a lot of the time throughout the competition, and I could totally get that. But in a studio version, he's fine, but on stage, he's quite cold, and he doesn't have that sort of winning personality.
I mean, it says it all. You pointed out the chair. There's a wildfire on it. You're going to sit down? I mean, this says everything. You should run, grab a hose, have some passion, put out the flames. That's what Levina was doing. He was not doing it. I honestly thought he didn't have a pulse at times. He couldn't get happy. He couldn't get excited. I think they said he's a street performer. Well, I would not be throwing change because I would feel like I'm throwing change at a corpse. Like, you want to give money to somebody who's going to use it to salute. Yeah, so bless him. He's going to be a great studio digitally remastered artist, but he's not going to be a live singer. Thankfully, Chris, we're only going to hear Lavinia's song for 12 minutes. Dress rehearsal, first rehearsal, second rehearsal, and then in the grand final. She's not going to have a winner's recap. I'm sorry, this is just too forgettable.
And it's a shame because she actually seems quite likable, and I do like her voice as well. Everything that I've heard, like her covers that she does on her channel and things like that, I enjoy them, but it just feels like this is, again, the whole problem with the national final. They made a huge effort, found a good bunch of artists, and then shoehorned all of them into these two songs. And nobody is going to really be able to, get that song. It's not specifically written for them. If anything, I actually thought that they were more suited to Helena, the girl that went out in round 2 or whichever round she went out in. Because they were a bit more country, and it just feels like it's just a big project, and this is the end result. Is this really the best Germany can do? No, it's not, and we know that.
Yeah, early on, they said that the songs would be especially written for Eurovision, and I think that's the problem. They've sort of gone for self-consciously Eurovision songs, and whenever a country does that, they seem to run into trouble, because if you look at the songs like 1944, no one would call that a Eurovision song. It was a bit weird and left field, and it won. And I kind of wish they'd taken more of a risk with the songs. I mean, what they should have done is picked songs that suited the individual singers rather than just sort of giving everyone them. But yeah, the song, I can't even remember how it goes. That's how forgettable it is.
And the show literally just ended 10 minutes before this call. If I were to rank my top 7, I think this would be number 7. I actually do, and simply because I can't remember the melody. We've got a lot of screeching women, and it's great that they're not sending a screeching woman, but they're sending someone forgettable, and that's an even bigger death sentence. Not someone, a song that's forgettable. Forgive me, because I love Levina. Yeah, I think that basically they need to rewind to 2010, 2011, 2012 when Stefan Raab was around. They chose good songs. Like, there was a similar selection to choose Satellite. It was pairing of singers and songs, and Lena won, and she killed it. This is just, I think they had a bad selection of songs ultimately. Chris, where is this in your top 7?
It's definitely, I think it's probably last for me. And it's a shame. It is a shame because I do like her. The only reason I can think of that they chose this instead of Wildfire, which probably would have been not much higher up for me, is because they played all the Eurovision songs and made a point of, oh, look, here's a woman with a ballad and here's another woman with a ballad. And maybe that subconsciously kind of made them think, oh, well, we'll send Perfect Life instead.
The host, Barbara actually said something. She said it was like, there are a lot of women with ballads, well, we can match that, or sort of like, well, that's what it's going to be this year, so we can do that, which is a weird attitude.
Very strange, to match her weird dresses. Robin, where do you place us in your top 7?
It would be about 5. I think Albania and Georgia would still be below it, but it's not going to stay at 5. It's going to get pushed down further and further.
How low can they go? This is a game of limbo, y'all. That is what we think. What do you think? You can let us know here on wiwibloggs.
And make sure to like the video.
And tell us what you think in the comments.
We'll see you later. Bye.